I need to give a heads up on this one before I get into it. Critical hits in this game cause some really severe flashing effects. So if you're sensitive to that, give this episode a pass. I am rarely as excited as I am with an episode of Famidaily as I am to talk about Barcode World. I've had everything prepared for it and sitting on my shelf for over a year, and I haven't played it because I didn't want to spoil myself. And this isn't because Barcode World is supposed to be a brilliant game. In fact, I had it on pretty good authority that Barcode World was awful. But there's nothing I love more than when video games get weird. And Barcode World gets really weird. But before we get into Barcode World, you first have to understand this, the Barcode Battler. This electronic toy from former console manufacturer Epoch let players swipe barcodes from products that they had, and it converted those codes into characters that you would have fight for you. There were also character packs that you could buy, including ones based on Nintendo games. I'm pretty confident that my Barcode Battler here was brand new in box before I broke it out for the demo. And there's a few things you need to understand about how things work before we get into this. First of all, Japan doesn't use UPC symbols. So if you happen to get one of these devices, you couldn't use the barcodes from your groceries in the US. Japanese barcodes use EAN 13. Second, the scanner is pretty finicky here. I scanned in a bunch of barcodes from my stuff because I wasn't going to cut up my video game boxes, and then I tried to run them through the Barcode Battler, and it couldn't read them. They really have to be on some kind of stiff backer, and I think the scale matters. I tried several ways to scan the codes that I printed off, and I just couldn't get it to work. So I'm not going to be able to use Super Mario Bros. For my demonstration characters. Barcode World came in an oversized box with a ton of extras in it. You had a cable for connecting the Barcode Battler 2 to the Famicom. The original Barcode Battler will not work with this. Barcode World also came with a deck of cards with barcodes on the back, and the character cards and items are often taken from previous Sunsoft games. Hebereke, Gimmick, Wing of Medulla, and Metafight in particular. Something important to understand about Barcode World is that without the Barcode Battler 2 and the appropriate cable, you won't be able to get past the name entry screen. And using the Barcode Battler 2 with Barcode World isn't straightforward. You have to hold down the R Power and R Battle buttons simultaneously and then turn the Barcode Battler on. That is what initiates the remote communication. There are two different options for play here, Battle Mode and Adventure Mode. Battle Mode just lets you play the game's version of barcode battling against another person. Each player swipes their cards in turn, swipes an item card if they have one, and then it's just a fight. Adventure Mode is where you go for a single-player game. Before you start playing, you first have to swipe in two characters from barcodes. There are two classes of characters, fighters and wizards, and their stats will be determined by the code that you swiped. You also pick out their appearance. There's 4 appearances for fighters, 4 appearances for wizards, and then you select a color scheme. Unfortunately, the only character that's directly represented in the game is Hebe. Everyone else is just kind of generic fantasy person. Your goal in every area of Barcode World is to get your spaceship to the warp gate, which will let you advance to the next section of space. Of course, you could also just choose warp from the menu and go to any of the 20 areas of the game at will. You don't want to do that because there's a progression of strength in the game, and really warp is for going backwards and trying to level up cards that you scanned later on. If you select the planet where your ship is at, you can choose to fight, change your equipment, use an item, warp, determine which characters will be in your party, and save the game. If you choose to save the game, then you have to reset to pick it back up from there. There are 2 battery save slots in Barcode World. If you haven't defeated the enemies that live on that planet, you can't move past that point, and so you'll need to fight them. For combat, first you have to choose which character you're going to use, and then which character you're going to attack. Then in battle, you've got the option to fight, use power, which is healing, use a healing item if you have one, or cast a spell. Everyone has the same 5 spells: a magic drain, a small damage, a big damage, a small heal, and a big heal. Yes, that means there are 3 different ways to heal your character, all using different consumable resources. Magic's driven by MP, while using power to heal is driven by PP. There is no maximum health either, so both you and your opponents can just keep pumping up your HP forever. Or at least until you run out of ways to heal. A problem with healing, at least early on, is that you don't recover as much health as damage that can be inflicted on you. So it's pretty easy to find your characters in no-win situations. In fact, scanning the cards that came with the box, I couldn't make any progress in the game at all. I just get brutally murdered by the starting enemies over and over again, and there's no way in the game to revive them. They're just not strong enough to really be usable. If you manage to defeat an enemy, you'll level up, though there aren't really any levels, you just increase some of your stats a bit. Every planetary system in Barcode World has a space station you can stop at, and at all the ones past the first, when you talk to the person who lives there, he'll give you a couple scans on the barcode reader. You'll either get scans for characters or scans for items. Scanning is a limited resource, and they have to be used at the space station. And again, that means it is easily possible to find your party in a no-win situation. One of the most annoying things in Barcode World is that after you win a fight, it goes back to the battle selection screen and your opponent has an opportunity to choose a battle. And then they can choose to run away. If they run away, it counts as losing. You can't move past the planet until you win all the battles there. And that has a bad tendency to freeze you in that spot for a long time. As I mentioned, in Japan this game has a really bad reputation. Part of that is because people would buy cartridges used and then not have the equipment to play the game with. But part of it is because the game is really bad. This is the only Famicom game to use the Barcode Battler, but there are a surprising number of Super Famicom games to utilize it. The closest one to this game is Conveni War's Barcode Battler Senki, which was published by Epoch themselves. But the Battler was also supported by games as diverse as Dragon Slayer 2, J-League 94, and the amazing Spider-Man Lethal Foes. But getting back to this Famicom game, combat is barely one step above the native Barcode Battler, and it's still really bad. There aren't many options or tactical choices. It really comes down to, did you find a strong enough barcode to scan in? And the only thing you really can do in the game is fight. There's no plot or real conversations to be had. You just go to a place, have a barcode fight, and then repeat until you're strong enough to challenge the guy at the gate. All Barcode World has is a gimmick, and it's a gimmick that doesn't work very well.